Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the MylesHighClub podcast. I'm your host, Miles. This is episode number 52. And I don't know if you guys care to know this, but I am finally deciding to be a responsible parent. I know it's September, but I have started my Christmas shop. Hold your applause. It's something that I should have been doing since the year Mila was born, my daughter, but I've always been one of these people that I'd always wait until November payday, do your Christmas shopping then, and any last little bits I need to get, wait till December payday, always a couple days before Christmas, get those last bits and bobs, good to go, and then I wonder why the rest of December and, the rest of January, I'm struggling, because I've spent all my money on Christmas presents at the last stretch. You probably sat there thinking, well, Miles, wasn't you save it? No. Not for Christmas presents anyway. Christmas presents never came into my head until about November time. And then I'd be like, I get paid at the end of November. I'll get my presents then. Spend all of December broke because I spent most of the money on presents. Get paid in December to then spend again bits or bobs of that money and end up being broke again for all of January because of Christmas. But no, this time I've tackled it. Mila's got like 6 presents already. We've started nice and early. And we're done. We are done. Listen, if you are a parent out there or about to be a parent or at some point in life are thinking about becoming a parent, let me give you one piece of advice, especially if you've got a big family or just a giving family and friends. Let me give you one piece of advice. Don't spend your money. Do not spend your money. I can give you a plethora of reasons why not to spend your money. Don't spend your money on clothes, especially expensive branded clothing, because kids grow quick. They'll probably wear it once or twice and then they've grown out of it. Don't spend your money on expensive, fancy-ass toys. They don't care. They don't care. They'll play with the box. They'll open the box depending on their age. They'll play with a couple of the things. And then it's on to the next toy. And then it'll be put into a corner where they'll probably go and pick it up and look at it for the first couple of weeks, and then they'll forget about it for 6 months, and then they'll find it again to play with it for 30 minutes just to drop it down and go find something. Like, don't waste your money. And thirdly, other people might buy it. I did this for Mila. I brought Mila it was like a Mega Blocks table thing to build blocks on. Someone else in the family already brought it. And I was like, you know what? I will send it back. You can keep this gift. And I kept my money. I know you're thinking, well, Miles, didn't you replace her present? No, I kept the money for Dad. That money was spent on Dad. Judge me how you want. But listen, save your money. Buy them a few things. I'd always say either buy them like the really expensive stuff or buy them something that you really want to get them, something sentimental, something you might know they're going to play on the most. But yeah, apart from that, handful of toys, handful of clothes, leave the rest to family. Because all that's going to happen I'd say from next month onwards, we're just going to get inundated with messages and phone calls and conversations from different family members. Oh, what can I get? What can I get her? What should I get her? What can I get her? What should I get her? So if anything, when you're going shopping, just write down a list of different things you think she might like. And then when people start asking you what can they get her, send them a list. Or just send them one thing, like one person asks, get them this. Don't give them options. Say, get her this. And they'll be like, okay, I'll get that. Someone else asks, get them this. Someone else asks, it's the simplest thing ever. I am not spending hundreds of pounds. Not that I wouldn't, but I'm not spending hundreds of pounds on my daughter for one, when she's going to be her Christmas is going to be filled with toys and clothes and everything from everyone already. I'm not doing it. So we've brought her a handful of toys. So she's got a bunch of toys from us. We'll probably wait till next month and do the clothes shopping, buy some clothes for the early winter, buy a bunch of clothes for summer next year, maybe some new trainers for her to grow into. And that's it. That is it. Because again, the family's going to come through it. If you're listening to this and you're like, Miles, I haven't got a family. It's just me and my baby. Even then, still don't go out buying that. Like, I feel like what a lot of people do is they either think, when I was a kid, I didn't get everything that I asked for, so I'm going to make sure my child gets everything they asked for. Listen, until your kid hits like the age of 6, like 5, 6, they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. You could give them an old toy from the 60s and they will look at it and they're either going to like it or not like it. Give them a box, give them a pen and paper, buy them paint sticks and watch how much fun they have. For kids that age, it doesn't matter. Don't go broke and lose your house trying to support your child will understand when they are older. But more importantly, they are not going to remember. It's as simple as that. They are not going to remember. But this isn't a rant, so I will move off that. But yeah, I've started my Christmas shopping. I don't know what I'm doing for Halloween. Halloween's in the back of my head. I don't think I'm doing anything this year for Halloween. That's in the back of my head. Christmas, presents are brought. That's like a big weight off my shoulder now. If I had my work phone, I'd actually check it. I do this every year. I don't know how it works for you guys at work. Our holiday period is from January to December. As soon as I can open up next year's calendar, first thing I do, book 2 weeks off for Christmas. I've done it for the past 3 years since Mila was born. I even used to do it before Mila was born. I'd book Christmas week and New Year week off. Why? I don't want to work. I really don't when you've got friends that work on the road and people that work in schools or when they're at college and uni and they get all this time off and you're stuck at work like a chump. Nope. Especially in some cases, work either gets really busy at that time of the year, I'm booking it off, or it's dead and boring, so I'm booking it off. Either way, I've booked it off. I think I've got the last 2 weeks of December booked off, plus I've got every Thursday and Friday from the start of November to roughly till the end of the year. I've got every Thursday and Friday booked off work. So 3-day weeks for about 6 weeks, and then the last 2-3 weeks of December off work. I am happy about it. You probably sat there thinking, Miles, how did you get so much holiday? I don't use my holiday. The holiday gets used I use 3-4 days throughout the year. And that's normally for my birthday, Mila's birthday, Mrs.'s birthday. And that's it. Nothing else takes up my time to get used. I haven't been on a holiday in God knows how long. Even when I used to go on holiday, quick weekend trip. I don't work weekends. Quick weekend trip, dip on the Friday, come back Sunday night. Good to go. Nice little weekend trip away there at this new job. But let's talk. Let's get down to it. Let me just start by saying I work from home. Before the pandemic started, I was working from home. What does that mean, Miles? That means I rarely have to travel. Where's he going with this? Means I rarely have to use my car. I think I know where he's going with this. Means I rarely have to fill my car up with petrol. I'm just going to sit here and gloat for a little bit. Hold tight, all the electric car drivers out there. Everyone that lives on the bike life, the walking life. Yeah, if you don't live in the UK and you're listening to this, the UK has been dealing with a petrol crisis, panic buy crisis. I don't know what we're calling it. The UK petrol crisis. That's what we are dealing with. Let's just go. I'm going to go through a quick timeline so you can see how this escalated. So this started a few years ago. It started ever since Brexit happened at the start of the year. But since Brexit happened, it's forced a lot of HGV drivers, a lot of big lorry drivers, it's forced them to not be able to do their work properly. Why? Because a lot of people were driving lorries across the borders. You understand? So a lot of these lorry drivers that we see on the road, let's just say a third or a half of them were all foreign. So EU happened, they weren't allowed over here. The whole traveling things got stopped and restricted. So there wasn't a lot of HGV drivers. Back in July 2021, BP announced that they don't have enough. They're running short on these delivery drivers, which is having an effect on the forecourt, which is where you go to fill up your car. That's back in July. Remember that. Last week. So now we're at a base where we don't have enough HGV drivers. And then last week, BP and Esso closed a handful of sites due to a lack of tanker drivers to make the delivery. This was said last week, Thursday, okay? So it was announced last week, Thursday, that BP and Esso have closed a handful of sites due to a lack of tanker drivers to make deliveries. The media then blew this whole thing. I won't blame it solely on the media, but the media and a few others, like Facebookers and other social media people, blew this whole thing out of proportion, and it went from there not being enough HGV drivers out there to make deliveries to 90% of the country believing that we're running low on petrol and there's no more petrol and we're going to die. This led to last weekend people panic buying fuel thinking that places were going to run out of fuel. They panicked. Well, panic versus prudent, which I learned. I learned this doing some research as well. So, yeah, it was that bad over the weekend and the start of this week that listen, a plethora, let me get these big words out, a plethora of places had to close. But have you ever seen a petrol station close that, like, in the middle of the day? Because I haven't. Never have I ever seen a petrol station close. They might be temporarily shut while they're getting their refuel, but then they're right back open. Nope. Petrol stations had to close in the middle of the day. Had to shut off fuel. People were running out. Like, places were running out of fuel. Like, I've never known a petrol station to run out of fuel. I've been to the petrol station sometimes, like, where some of the pumps have all got, like, the yellow tape on to say out of order because they're running low. But never have I seen a whole forecourt run out of petrol/diesel. And that's exactly what happened. There are people out there that drive diesel cars. And even though this thing was only affecting, well, they said it was only affecting petrol. I think petrol and diesel deliveries are different. Who knows? Everyone was out there panic buying. Again, let's say it was down to the media. This caused what? There were traffic jams. Supermarkets were getting their car parks gridlocked because everyone was too busy trying to get to the petrol station, so no one was moving. There's a bunch of videos online of people in the street having to direct traffic around traffic jams that are heading into petrol stations just so they can carry on with their business. Believe it or not, there are multiple videos, like I've seen multiple videos of people just fighting. Why? For why? These videos never ever start, or no one ever gives you a backstory to what's happening. Like, it's just a video on, there's people shouting, next thing you know, punches are flying. I've seen people punching car windows, fighting on the forecourt, fighting in the traffic jam up to the forecourt, shouting. You people. Allegedly, I don't know how true this is, allegedly the AA and RAC have been reporting a surcharging calls from people that have been panicking so much they've been putting the wrong fuel in their car. I'm just going to leave that one panicking so much that they're putting the wrong fuel on their car. I don't care if this is a true story or not. As Charlemagne the God says, the lie, no one cares about the truth when the lie is more appealing. In my head, people are pulling up to the petrol station. Let's say their car runs on petrol. They're running up to the petrol station. They've got that little yellow tag on the green pumps to say, look, there's no more petrol. And they're just thinking, fuck it, I'll grab this black pump. It's probably like super petrol. And they're trying to put that in the car, fucking up their cars, and having to call the AA and the RAC and whoever else does all this because they are panicking too much. I mentioned it earlier. So again, looking online, they're saying it's a mixture of prudence buying and panic buying. So I think people get split into three categories. There's just your normal, smart, everyday person who just wants to go to the petrol station to fill up because they're low. They might be on red. They might just be hovering above the red. They might be down to their last quarter. It's probably that time when they think to themselves, let me go fill up. We've got them. Feel sorry for you guys. Then got the prudence buyers, who prudence is all about cautiousness. So there was a bunch of people out there that saw these reports. They weren't panicking. They probably had they might have had half a tank, quarter of a tank, 3/4 of a tank. And they just thought to themselves, you know what? Just in case, let me be cautious. Let me head to the petrol station and fill up. Again, I suppose there's nothing wrong with that. If you hear there might be a petrol shortage, you've got half a tank and you're thinking it's probably not going to last that long. Let me just fill up now. The full tank will do me a week or two and we'll be good. And then you've got the morons. Yes, I'm talking to you. The morons, the clowns, the idiots, the stupids, the same dickheads that went out and brought up all the pasta, all the rice, all the toilet roll, all the cleaning products when this pandemic first hit. Yes, I'm talking to you. The panic buyers, people out there that have probably got a full tank of petrol and were still driving to petrol stations to fill up fucking, what are those cans called? Jimmy cans? Whatever they're called, the petrol cans, you know, those green things that people fill up, those gas can things. I was in a picture of someone in a forecourt and they must have had about 6 of them laid out behind their car and they were just filling up all 6. I was like, how much disposable income do you have that at any given time you feel like you can just go out and spend hundreds of pounds on petrol that you're not even going to put in your car straight away? But that leaves me off. And at first I asked myself this question, then I was like, come on, Miles, you know humanity by now. And I feel like some of you out there probably had the same question as me, was, did we not learn from the start of the pandemic when everyone rushed out to buy pasta for no reason, rice for no reason, people were buying flour? I was talking to my barber today, as you can probably tell. I was talking to my barber today. He was talking about when this pandemic first started, he went out to buy yeast to make bread, and there was no yeast anywhere. And then he spoke to a customer, and the customer was like, oh, my wife's brought like 3-4 bags of yeast, and she's never made bread in life and doesn't know how to make bread. So why are you buying yeast? Why are you now buying yeast? Someone please explain why this person who's never made bread, doesn't know how to make bread, and has no plans of making bread is buying this. I wonder how many people have still got pasta in their cupboards. I don't know why I'm looking around. There's no one in this room but me. How many people still have toilet roll left over? How many people have still got rice, yeast, all this other? It doesn't make sense. But back to my original question: did we not learn from that? I think we did learn. I just don't think we learned the right lesson. And it's pretty much down to that. Pandemic hit. Everyone started panic buying a bunch of shit, and then they realized, maybe I didn't actually need 15 bags of pasta, 14 bags of rice, and 48 packs of toilet roll. Maybe I was being a little eccentric. Did anyone learn from that lesson? You know what? Let's not be hasty. No, let's not all rush to the petrol pumps and cause another fucking drought. No. I feel like what's happened is people saw this and was like, shit. When the pandemic started, everyone brought all the pasta and there was no pasta left. So now I'm going to go and get all the petrol just in case I don't get that petrol. No, it's just, that's the lesson it feels like they learned. I feel like they saw what happened with the pasta, and instead of thinking to themselves, you know what, I don't really need any petrol now. Let me hold off and wait till my shit goes on E, because there's probably people out there who really do need that petrol. No, they all thought, fuck it. They all stole the pasta last time. I didn't get any pasta. This time, I'm taking all of the petrol. Meanwhile, I'm sat at home with my car's on, who knows, 1/2 to 3/4 of a tank maybe. I don't know. I rarely drive that thing. It's just on the drive. I've been sat back laughing at all of this absolute fucking nonsense that is going on. But then I saw something saying, in response, the UK government has reduced the amount of training drivers will be required to complete and extended the amount of hours that they can legally work. Just in case you're like, hold on, Miles, I didn't quite hear you properly there. Let me say it again. In response, the government has reduced the amount of training drivers will be required to complete and extended the amount of hours that they can legally work. So just to clarify this for everyone at home who might be a little lost like me, the government is now saying, yo, if you want to drive one of these big, scary, dangerous HGV vehicles, heavy good vehicles, lorries, whatever the fuck they're called. If you want to drive one of these big ass lorries, you now don't need to train as much to drive this big thing. And I know we had rules about how long you can work to stop you from getting tired and possibly having an accident. You can work even longer. That's the government's great idea. Less training, work even longer. Once again, I just like to put out there that I don't work for the government, and I'm not saying that I have better ideas. But if you want to pay me however much these people are getting paid to make these decisions, let me sit up in a room for a couple of days. Pretty sure I'm going to come up with something better than telling people, you don't need to train as much and you can work for even longer. What could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? But again, this is typical human fashion. And I love this next bit I'm going to talk about. It's one of my favorite bits. Anytime anything happens, especially when it involves the government, we get the quote unquote conspiracies. Okay? Don't shout at me. I hate the word conspiracy as well, because I just feel like they use the word conspiracy to make you all think whatever someone is saying is crazy. So, there are three main, there's probably more than three. There are three main conspiracies that I've seen of people trying to explain what's going on. Why is there a petrol crisis? Why is the media hyping up these stories and exaggerating stories and propelling the fear across the nation? Why is the governmenting? It's the government. I don't know why people get shocked anytime the government does something. But conspiracy number one. So the first conspiracy is the government orchestrated the fuel panic to sell off soon to expire fuel stocks built up during the pandemic. Number one, don't know why. I had no idea fuel could go out of date. There was something I learned there, so hopefully you've learned something too. Number two, it is true that during the pandemic there was a lower demand for fuel because, well, we weren't allowed to leave our houses or go anywhere, so people weren't driving, which means people weren't filling up as much. So I imagine the demand went down, which meant that there may have been a surplus of petrol, or there may have been a bit more diesel and petrol than we're used to. I don't know what happened to it. The one conspiracy is we're doing this now. The government is orchestrating this now to panic buy everyone out there so that we start buying all of this close to expiring petrol and reduce the surplus of extra petrol we've got out there. Conspiracy number one, I'll let you guys all rate that 1 out of 10. Conspiracy number two, again, this website that I found this on took a bunch of screenshots from Facebook lorry driving groups. So the second conspiracy is more of a lorry driver conspiracy. Some lorry drivers believe the whole crisis has been fabricated in order to allow more foreign labor into the country. This is why it's a conspiracy. A lot of the lorry drivers are saying this has all been orchestrated to highlight the lack of HGV drivers, which would then hopefully let them start hiring foreign lorry drivers. Here's the kicker, at a cheaper price. So the conspiracy is the government has orchestrated this and has fabricated it in order to get more cheaper foreign labor. So instead of just hiring a bunch of British HGV drivers and chaining them up, they're like, no, there are plenty of people out there that can drive these lorries and will work for a quarter of the price. Let's drum up some business here, yeah. Let's let everyone think we're running out of petrol because we don't have enough drivers. So that when we start hiring these foreign drivers, people are like, I don't care, just get me my petrol. Again, rate that 1 out of 10, take it as you will. And conspiracy number 3. During summer 2021, it's a conspiracy, but it's also true. So this bit's true. During the summer 2021, the standard 95 octane petrol grade in Great Britain will become E10, forcing people to buy the more expensive version or buy an electric car. That is 100% accurate. You can go and do your own research if you want. The current petrol that we have now, this 95 octane, we're getting rid of that and we're bringing in this new one called E10. The conspiracy behind it is people believe they're doing this to force people to spend more money buying a more expensive version of petrol or to buy an electric car. Now, I haven't done too much research on electric cars, but from the little bits I've done, they do seem to be a lot more beneficial to the environment. Again, yes, I know they said that about diesel, and then they changed their mind a few years ago and said diesel's actually bad. It's actually bad and it's worse for petrol. It's just like it's like you want to believe people, but time and time again they just let you down. And then when you stop believing them because they keep letting you down, other people call you crazy for not believing them. And you're just like, but don't you remember that they let you down as well? It wasn't just me. I didn't make this up. They let us all down. But no, people don't care. My only thing is I don't think it's a bad thing trying to convince people to buy electric cars. I can imagine there's a bunch of people out there that don't want to buy an electric car, which is probably why the government's trying to force people into buying an electric car. But there you go, guys. Okay? That's the UK petrol crisis. I hope you're all up to date. You now know how it started, why it started, what's going on, all the conspiracies about it. Make with it as you wish. All I'm going to say, drive carefully and don't fight over petrol. And don't hoard petrol either, you bastards. It's just be nice. Humanity, I'm talking here. You know what? I'm just going to stop there because I want to talk about humanity and being nice. Very next story. This might be like in the UK at this point in time, the biggest thing is the UK petrol crisis. If you just step outside the UK, or if you just look past the petrol crisis, as of, was it today? I think it was today, the day I'm recording, Wednesday, the 29th of September. R. Kelly has been convicted. 11 accusers stood before R. Kelly. There was 9 women and 2 men, and they took the stand over the searing 6-week trial to describe sexual humiliation and violence at his hands. After 2 days of deliberation, the jury found the US star guilty on all 9 charges he was facing. So, you want to know what those 9 charges were? It was 9 counts of sex trafficking and racketeering, with the latter charge including acts of bribery and sexual exploitation of a child. R. Kelly was also found to be in violation of the Mann Act, which is a sex trafficking statute that, in Kelly's case, related to the transportation and coercion of 2 women, including a minor. Yo, look, it took 30 years, but there is, I think, can we call it justice? It seems like there is some justice in this. Again, let me see if I can find it. I'm not going to sit here and act like, oh yeah, I knew R. Kelly was a bad guy. I'm trying to go back and find the original clips. 2003, March the 6th, 2003. Dave Chappelle does a piss on you. I'm gonna pee on you. I piss on you. He does a mock song in his skit, the Dave Chappelle Show, about R. Kelly peeing on someone. That was back in 2003. It's nearly 20 years ago. And even then, that was done like 10 years after all of this happened. There's also something called The Boondocks. I don't know if anyone here has ever watched The Boondocks. If you've never watched The Boondocks, you are missing out. But The Boondocks also had an episode that aired in 2005 where Huey disagrees with Riley and apparently most black people around the R. Kelly case. This is back when all black people were riding for R. Kelly and you couldn't tell them nothing about what this guy was doing. Or did it all come out? I'm not going to get into this trial because I don't want to give him any more. Not that I have a big audience to, shed light on, but he's been arrested. Go and do your own research to find out why. It includes things of a trafficking. There was videos going around in like the late 90s of him pissing on a girl, which at the time, I don't think anyone knew she was underage, apart from him, but he knew she was underage and he was peeing on her in the video. He had someone forge and falsify documents to fake Aaliyah's age to make her older than what she was. I think she was 14 at the time. He got documents falsified so that he could marry her. He used to have a team that would go to high schools to pick up girls and approach girls like, hey, do you want to meet R. Kelly? You might be able to change your life. And in this day and age, we're a bit more clued on, but take yourself back to when you were in school. If someone walked up to you and said, do you want to meet the biggest celebrity, one of the biggest celebrities of the time in R&B, and you're into R&B, and you're like, do you want to go meet this guy? There's a good chance you're going to say yes. Okay? This is what was happening to these girls. It said I was expecting to see a whole bunch of like sexual assault, rape, molestation charges, sex trafficking, racketeering. They got him on that. I think there's a few things. The racketeering one, which I always thought was associated with organized crime, normally gangs. They're classing what R. Kelly was doing as a crime enterprise or a crime organization that he was at the head of, which involved him soliciting sex by getting a team of people to get girls, sometimes underage, and transport them from one state to another state to meet him, and soliciting prostitutes and sending prostitutes back and forth over. He was breaking all the rules. He got away with it for so long. Justice has nearly been met. I'm not sticking up for R. Kelly, but it wasn't just R. Kelly that was involved in this. Listen, throw the book at him, throw him under the jail. Don't put him in the jail. Lift the jail. Put R. Kelly there. Drop the jail back on him. Then lift the jail back up and go and get every other person that was complicit with R. Kelly that was doing this. I don't care if he was paying your wage and that's how you were feeding and providing for your family, you fucking sicko. Get under the jail with him, okay? This probably hits a lot harder now than it would have a few years ago because I have a daughter. I have a little baby girl who's only 2, but all of them, all these people that were complicit in arranging these girls, the people that were getting accommodation, sorting travel for these girls, anyone that knew what R. Kelly was doing to these girls, especially the underage girls, every last one of them, under the jail. Get them all under the jail and slam the jail on top of them, and don't let not one of them see daylight ever again. And it should just be that simple. Okay? It should be that simple. I'm not going to talk about this sick pervert anymore because I don't want to. What I am going to talk about is something that I spoke about last week. Welcome to the weekly segment, What's on the Box, where I discuss all the new... You know the gist by now. If you're new to this, I'm going to talk about something, okay? I'm going to talk about the TV show that seems to be sweeping not only the nation, the whole fucking world at this point, Squid Game. If you haven't watched Squid Game yet, spoilers are ahead. I don't know what voice that was. That was like my announcement voice. Spoilers from like this point on. Well, maybe not this point. I'm going to explain something first and then it's spoilers. But just in case, spoilers from this point on. If you haven't already watched it, pause this video. No, don't pause this video yet. If you haven't already watched it, load up Netflix. There are 9 episodes, roughly 30 to 50 minutes long. Pause this podcast now. No, go and watch these podcasts. Pause this podcast. Go and watch all those shows and come back. And welcome back to all those people out there that paused it. So, I explained it last week. Quick recap again. Squid Game is a 9-part Korean drama that is on Netflix. Squid Game is about I think there's 456 in total. 456 Koreans, or 456 people who are living in South Korea that are dealing with mind-crippling debt. I'm talking debt to the point where people have got bailiffs after them. People are facing jail time. People are living on the street. They're homeless. The worst of the worst debt, okay? And what Squid Game has done is it's got 456 people all competing in children's games for a prize. Well, where's the catch, Miles? The catch is these children games all have deathly consequences, which literally means if you lose, you die. Okay? Let's get into this. I'm only going to talk about because the reason why I think this TV show is taken off is, one, the games they play are fucking brutal. It's a child game where you die at the end. You're now probably sat there thinking, well, what games did I play as a child that could have ended as death? Like tag. You get tagged, you die. Tag's not a game. I'm going off on a tangent here. Stuck in the mud. If you're stuck in the mud for too long, you die. Dodgeball, if you get hit by the ball, you die. Hopscotch, if you fall out the scotch, you die. All sorts. So, let's go through Squid Game. So, like I said, Korean drama follows a group of debt-ridden strangers who agree to take part in a mysterious game that promises them huge cash. Round number 1. So the first game is a game called Red Light, Green Light. If you don't know what Red Light, Green Light is, think of What's the Time, Mr. Wolf. If you don't know what the time, Mr. Wolf is, I don't know where you've been as a child. But basically, you'd have a bunch of people on one side, one person on the other side. One person would say, a bunch of kids would then scream, "What's the time, Mr. Wolf?" The wolf would say 10 o'clock. He would then turn around and people would then have to take 10 steps. If at any point the wolf could then turn around and try and catch anyone moving, if you were caught moving, you're out. Same with red light, green light. The thing says green light, turns around, you walk. It says red light, turns around, you stop. If it sees you moving, you die. Simple as that. You're shot. There are people up there with guns. First person gets shot. Bam! No one knows if he's alive. They roll him over. They see blood. People see blood, start screaming and panicking. Everyone starts getting shot and dead. Like, dead. Not fake dead. Real bullets. Real blood. Real death. First game ends. I was hooked as soon as that first bullet went off. Okay? As soon as that first bullet went off, I was cooked. So, it's called red light, green light. And if you're caught moving during the red light, you are shot. Simple as that. And this is why this program is so good. Not only have you got the games, in between each game, all the contestants have to go back into like their shelter where they are kept. So let me explain all the different stories that are going on. You've got the games. That's one going on. So you're like, what are these games? Who's going to win the games? Who's organising the games? How long have the games been going on for? All sorts like that. You've also then got the stories that are going on within the outside of the games. So when they finish the game, they all go back to their dorm room. People form friendships. They form groups to stick together. At one point, hold on, what game was it before? At one point, I might be mixing up the timeline. At one point, a bunch of people go back for seconds and steal food that wasn't theirs. Some guy finds out, he gets pissed. He goes up to one of them to confront him. A fight breaks out. The bad guy kills him and nothing happens. All you hear is, player, something is eliminated. I need to explain this bit as well. This is why I shouldn't do reviews. I should maybe write things down so there's a structure. But it's so much to talk about. Childhood games. Every time someone dies, their life is worth, I think, 1 million won, which is Korean money. Their life is worth 1 million won. If you work it out, 456 contestants. If you win that game, you end up winning, I think it was like 45.6 billion won, which works out to be like 28-ish million pounds. That's a lot of money. Every time someone dies, their $1 million value gets added to the whole bulk of things. So this guy dies, he looks up, sees the money get dropped in there, and he's like, yo, boom. And then nighttime comes before the next game, all hell breaks loose. Everyone is just killing everyone in the night. Well, I say that. I'm sure only like 18 people died in the night, but I digress. Let me get to the main part of this. So the second game involves trying to cut a shape, which is a game called Out of a Honeycomb. So what happens is, you've just played the first game. Everyone walks into a room. There's 4 shapes on the wall. It's a triangle, a circle, a star, an umbrella. They tell you to randomly go stand behind any one of these. People go and stand behind them. You get given a tin. You open the tin and there's a piece of honeycomb in there. Whatever shape you've picked is cut into that honeycomb. You're given a needle, and what you've got to do is cut out the shape without breaking that honeycomb, okay? You can break the outer parts, but you've got to cut out. So if you've got a triangle, you've got to cut out the triangle and not break the triangle. Same for the star, same for the circle, same for the umbrella. You're listening to that thinking, an umbrella, yeah? And if it snaps, you die. Remembering, while you're doing all this preciousness, if someone snaps it next to you, they're killed instantly. There is no taking them away. Like, someone will just be headshotted right next to you. You may even get brain matter all over your face while you're doing it. You've got to carry on. Some woman's got a lighter in. Someone sneaks a lighter in there to cheat. She helps out another guy. Another guy sweats and drops, and they all start licking the back of it because they realize if you lick the back of it, you can thin out the shape and make it easier to cut. Oh, it was so good. There's a doctor in there who's working with some people that are running the games, so he knows what games are coming next. So he knows what shape to pick. There's another guy in there. I think he's called Sang-woo. Sang-woo's like, there's Ji-hun. I always remember Ji-hun's name. He's the main guy. Sang-woo is his best friend from school, and they both just happen to be in there because they're both broke as anything. He knows what the game is before it starts. He remembers a game from a childhood, but doesn't tell any of his little friends in there. Listen. Remember I told you people were making alliances in there? The third game, the contestants are told to get into teams of 10 without being told what the game is. Then what happens is it switches and flicks to like there's a little sexism in there, which I'm not Asian and I'm not Korean, so I don't know how accurate this would be to typical standards. But they're like, get into teams of 10. Immediately, because they're saying get into teams of 10, all the men are like, we need men. We need men. We need everyone to be strong, just in case this is a physical activity. So there's a whole bunch of groups. I've got all men groups. The main group, like our main guys group's got a few men. There's an old man, player number 1. Oh, player number 1. Player number 1. There's player number 1. So you just watch it and remember player number 1, the old man, okay? Shit. They all get told what they're going to do. No one gets told. They all pick their teams. They go through and they find out that it's a tug of war. Player number 1. Listen, player number 1 is probably the best character throughout the whole of it. In the very first game, which is red light, green light, he's the first one just to start running. Even when people start getting shot, he just keeps going until he gets over the line. Again, you find out, it makes more sense later on why he wasn't as panicked. But he just goes for it. And I think he finishes first, or he finishes in front of Ji-hun anyway. Second game, he makes it through. Third game, tug of war, the old man comes with the techniques. You see the first one, first game is literally just a game of brute strength. The bad team versus the random team. The bad team win. It's all big, strong men. They just pull it off. It's tug of war. You're on a high platform. They pull you through. Once your whole team is pulled off the platform, your rope goes through like this circle thing. A guillotine cuts the rope. The losing team just falls to their death and splatters on the floor. You're probably thinking, Miles, this thing sounds horrific. It is, but it's fucking entertaining as well. The old guy comes in and he's like, right, everyone, this is my technique. Get the rope, put the rope underneath your arm, legs wide, shoulder width apart, feet facing forward, hold the rope under your arm. Now, bend your knees and lean all the way back until you're almost looking at the ceiling. We're going to hold this for 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, the other team's going to start getting tired, lose their footing, and that's when we attack. As he's explaining it, you see them doing it. Someone's foot on the other team slips, and they just scream, "No!" And they just start pulling, and the technique's working brilliantly. Then the other team gets their footing back, and the other team starts pulling back. And then Sang-woo, the smart guy from the business school, he's like, right, guys, we're going to take 3 steps forward, and then really quickly stop and pull them back. He screams now. They take 3 steps forward. The other team, not expecting that much give, because they're pulling their hardest. Too much give. They all fall down. The good team are like, go. And they start pulling the rope and pulling the rope. And you're probably thinking, why doesn't the other team just let go of the rope? You can't. You're handcuffed to the rope. So even if you let go of the rope, it just means you are now applying less pressure. So you are more likely to die. So everyone is trying. Long story short, the good team wins the tug of war. The 4th game begins. Again, if you've watched this, you're probably thinking, Miles, you're missing out some of the best details. Listen, you need to watch it for the backstory. There's a policeman who sneaks into this and he's running around in the background trying to find out what's happening. Again, all the little groups and the falling outs and everything that's happening within the actual, like not in where the games are, but not when the games are taking place, when they're all back in their dorm and what have you. There's so many layers. There are so many layers to it. The 4th game. Oh, the 4th game. The spoilers ahead. If you haven't watched Squid Game, please go and watch it now before I mention the 4th game, because if this is twists and turns. So for the 4th game, the players are told to get into pairs and again aren't told what they are doing. A whole bunch of them, they all pair up. So again, imagine you've just had a game, going to 10, it's tug of war, feat of strength. Same thing happens here. Sang-woo ignores Ji-hun, who's his best friend. He looks at the other friend in the group, this guy from Pakistan. He's like, yo, I'm smart, you're strong, let's pair up. Everyone's got their pairs. Ji-hun feels bad because the old guy's by himself and ends up pairing with the old guy. They all pair up, and then they're all told that they're going to play a game of their choice with marbles, with the loser being killed. Let me just explain what's happening out there, okay? These games are going on. The first game is every man for themselves. The second game is also every man for themselves, but people have started to make alliances and they've got friends. Ruckuses are happening. Well, a ruckus happened in the middle of the night, so people have got groups and they know people are willing to kill at nighttime. You've just been told, yo, groups of 10. They all get into groups of 10, probably thinking they're going to be in those groups for the rest of the game. Nope, that's the end of game 3. Game 4 starts, get into a pair. So everyone's getting into pairs with like their friends, whoever they trust the most, whoever they built the most relationship with. So I want you to imagine you're in these games, you befriend someone, you and someone become best friends, you become tight, like, yo, we're going to do this together. So you pair up thinking, whatever this game is, we can win this. Only to find out that you're not competing as a pair, you're actually competing against each other. There's friends that have picked each other. There's a husband and wife that are in there and they paired up. You've got to play a game of marbles. Oh my, listen. The betrayal. The fucking betrayal. The snake moves. The conniving, backstabbing, two-faced, utter fuckery that happens in this one game. Oh my God. Go and watch Squid Game if you haven't. I'm trying to review it without giving away too many spoilers in case you're thinking to yourself, I'm never going to watch this. I'm never going to watch it, Miles. Just tell me what happens. No. Go and fucking watch it because I'm not even giving you the details of what makes it so saucy. All you need to know is by the time they get to the marble game, You already know, like, they're paired up and you know what happens with the pairs, but by the time they get to the marble game, the betrayal, there's no point in me explaining the betrayal to you, but go and watch it. Actually, no, I will explain the betrayal. One of the betrayals, two of the guys that are friends, the Pakistani guy and Sang-woo, the Korean guy, the Pakistani guy is whooping the Korean guy's ass at this game. It's basically a game of marbles. They get 10 marbles each. The game that most of them seem to be playing is one person, out of their 10 marbles, puts a random amount of marbles in their hand. The other person, who is guessing, picks up a random amount of, or picks up however many marbles they want to wager. So, they then go to the person and they'll say odd or even. If they get it correct, so if they say even and they open the hand that's even marbles, they then open their hand, and if they had 2 marbles, the other guy has to give them 2 marbles. If it was wrong, they have to give them 2 marbles. Do you get it? You get it. Sang-woo was getting his ass whooped by the guy from Pakistan who's never played this game before. He flips out, accuses him of cheating. The one rule that's in this game, though, which isn't in any of the other games, is you're not allowed to harm your partner. Otherwise, they know someone would just beat them up and take the marbles off them. You can't harm your partner. He gets on his knees and starts pleading for his life. He's like, think about my family. And the guy from Pakistan's like, yo, I've got a family as well. And then Sang-woo, being the fucking genius he's in, remember, he's in he's wanted by the police for money laundering, fraud, lying, okay? For lying and being a scheming little bastard. And there are hints throughout the whole game that let you know you shouldn't trust this fucking Sang-woo. He convinces the Asian guy somehow that they can work together and eliminate another team by collecting everyone's marbles. He does a whole thing where he gives the Indian guy the marbles and he takes the marbles off him. He's like, don't walk around with these out in the open. You might get mugged. Build him like a necklace of these things. He's like, you go look over that half. I'll go search this half. Sang-woo then goes up to the mask guys that run the games like, look, I've got 20 marbles here. You said it doesn't matter how you get them as long as you don't use harm and you get the marbles. I have all 20 here. I win. He goes through. The Asian guy's now walking around. He's like, yo, Sang-woo, where are you? He's like, Sang-woo, I've done this half. And then he starts panicking because he can't find Sang-woo and he's not replying. And then he grabs his bag and he's like, hang on a minute. And then he opens his bag and pours his bag out. And at some point, with sleight of hand, Sang-woo swapped all the marbles that he'd won, for a bunch of rocks and stole the marbles. Oh my gosh. And he just leaves him there to any player number. Something has been eliminated. And you're just like, listen, I was torn. 1% of me was like, you're damn straight. It's survival of the fittest. Every man for themselves. Only one person can win this game. The other 99% of me was like, you damn dirty, conniving son of a bitch. I've never wanted to jump through the screen and beat up a character so much in my entire life. Ji-hun and the old man, the old loving man, Ji-hun the old man tricks him and pretends he forgets how many marbles he puts out. Ji-hun takes advantage of this to take all of the marbles off him. He thinks he's got all the marbles and the old man's like, let's play one last game. All or nothing. Ji-hun's like, how's that fair? All or nothing? I've got to put all my 19 in just to win your 1. That's not fair. And the old man's like, well, neither is scamming and trying to trick your friend. And I was like, oh my God. It was so deep. And then he just gives him the marble and you're like, fuck. And then he walks off camera and you hear the gunshot go. And listen, the 4th game, it's like episode 6 and 7, or episode 7, I think. But that 4th game, just when you think the game can't get stepped up anymore, it gets stepped up. Now, there's only like 16 people left. Listen, there's so much more to go through, but I haven't got all day for it, and I wasn't going to do a full episode on it. 15 games. As they walk into a room, 16 players left. There's vests labeled 1 to 16. You don't know anything apart from you got to go pick a number. A few of them go and pick all the middle numbers, but there's some VIPs that have actually come to watch this game now. I'll explain that later on. And they're like, give them a hint. And then they come for the town and like, whatever number you pick is in what order you'll be playing the game. Everyone else rushes to get it. It's between Ji-hun, the main guy, and some random guy, and there's only 1 and 16 left. The random guy picks 16, but then he goes over to Ji-hun and he's like, yeah, I've been hiding behind people my whole life. Can I swap with you? I want to be number 1. I want to go first and get it out of the way and prove that I'm not a chicken shit, basically. So they swap. And then the game starts, and you find out that the numbers you're in is the order you'll be crossing a bridge. Little do they know that each player must jump on 2 glass panels that are on the bridge. One glass panel is made up of tempered glass, which is really strong and it can hold the weight of 2 people. The other glass is normal glass and it will break immediately as soon as someone jumps on it. Now imagine, now I've said that, just imagine the person that picked up number 16, he was going to go last, and now he's got to go first. Oh, there's a time limit on there. There's 16 minutes, which works out roughly 1 minute per person. As you can imagine, it's 16 minutes for everyone. So now the people at the back are yelling at the people at the front to hurry the fuck up because they're at the back and they want to get across as well. People at the front don't know what fucking glass is what. People are jumping, they drop through. So then the next person's like, okay, I'll jump on this one. Oh shit, which one is it now? There's another scene where some guy just says, fuck it, and just starts running through the course. And he hammers like half the course, but then he drops. And then the person behind him was too busy caught up in an oar. He jumps to one and he's like, oh shit. He's like, yo, which one was it? I forgot which one it was. It's so good. And then it gets to the point where the main bad guy out of all the contestants, he's now at the front. Because the guy in front of him is like, don't push me. He's like, I'm not going to push you because you're helping me get through as well. He falls through the glass. So the guy behind him is like, fuck. So then he turns around and goes, yo, I'm not taking another step. If you want to get to the end, you need to come in front of me. He's done that so that whoever goes in front of him can find the glass so he can easily get his whole way across. I spoke about betrayal earlier on in this episode. This woman, the woman with the lighter from the second game, gives it to the bad guy. They become friends. He ends up fucking her in a bathroom. They form an alliance. That alliance falls apart immediately because the tug of war game popped up, which was all about a battle of strength. He left her. She was like, I'm going to kill you. They all beefed and everything like that. She's now behind him. People have jumped. People have been pushed and all sorts. She's now behind him. She jumps onto the same glass as him because he thinks that she's going to go in front of him. Nuh-uh, honey. And she just locks her arm around him. She doesn't try and push him off. She doesn't drop kick him. She doesn't knee him in the balls and throw him off. She just locks her arms around him and says, remember, we said we'd be together to the end? I told you I was going to kill you if you betrayed me. And then she just leans back and pulls him off the bridge with her. I didn't know how that girl was going to die. I didn't know how either of them two were going to die. I knew they were going to die. And that's how it happened. 4 characters left. 3 of the main characters and 1 random guy. The 1 random guy that's left near the back, what did he do as a job? He worked as a glass manufacturer. So he can actually tell the difference between tempered glass and normal glass. He helps them clear like 5 or 6 glass panels. They get to the very final one. The VIPs are like, nah, he's making this too easy. They turn the lights off and make it even harder. He tries to listen for sound, but he's only got 1 marble, so he can't hear it. Sang-woo, the guy who knew what the second game was, but didn't tell any of his friends that he'd just made. The guy that then tricked the Pakistani guy and took all of his marbles off him, even though the Pakistani guy was winning fair and square. The guy in front of him, the clock's counting. Again, I'm not saying he's wrong, because the clock's counting down. There's like 30 seconds left or so, if that. And he's like, yo, you need to hurry up and pick. The guy's taking too long. Sang-woo just goes, whoomp, pushes him straight through a glass. Guy in front of him dies. Sang-woo's like, well, that's the last step. Jumps on. The last 2 jump on and make it. Oh, the glass blows up. Yay. It's down to the final 3. The 2 school childhood friends and the girl who doesn't really talk to anyone. She's one of my favorites as well. The girl that doesn't really talk to anyone. She doesn't trust anyone. She had a run-in with the bad guy as well. She also pickpocketed Ji-hun at the very start of it. Listen, there's so many layers. There are so many layers in it. But when the game finishes, the glass panels all explode, which meant if you were on those glass panels, not only would you blow up with the glass, but you're going to die and fall horribly to your death if the glass doesn't cut you and kill you. We then find out later on that when the explosion went off, a piece of glass actually got stuck in the girl. I forget her name because she said it like right at the end of the... She never told you her name, but she said it right at the end of the show. Ji-hun, they go for a meal. This is where the game gets twisted here. The final 3 have a celebratory meal. It's just them 3, celebratory meal. They get this massive steak. The food looks amazing. They take their food away. They take the cutlery away. They take all the plates away apart from 1 item. they leave the steak knife. It's a big sharp knife. They leave one in front of each player, and they just leave. So each player picks up their knife. Again, earlier on in the games, Ji-hun was like, earlier in the game, some guy was like, I don't want to play this game. After the first game, when it all happened, people started begging for their lives. Like, I don't want to play this game anymore. Let me go home. And then Sang-woo was like, it says in the contract under part number 3, if the majority of people vote to leave the game, then the game ends and we all go back to our normal life. The guy's like, yep, that's true. He's like, if you end the game now, all that money will go to the families of the people that have died, and you lot will leave the game and go back to your normal lives. Vote happens. It's a split vote. It ends up being to end the game. So they end the game. Everyone goes home. But then everyone realizes how shit home life is. And it's like a day or two later, they then contact everyone else they then contact all the people that were in the game originally. Majority of them come back. It's like, it feels like it was like 90% of them came back. The rest of them just were like, I would rather live my broke life. And I'm talking broke. Like, these people had like £500,000 debt and all sorts of crazy shit like that. So then Ji-hun is explaining to the girl that's been injured, is like, look, if we just say, fuck it, me and you, there's only 3 people left, me and you, we can quit the game now. We're the majority, the game will quit. He sees that she's bleeding. He runs to the door to try and get some help. They open the door. As they open the door, they walk in with a coffin, and you're thinking to yourself, hold on a minute. And then he turns around, and he runs over there, and you see the girl lying in bed with her throat slit, and you're like, huh? That motherfucker Sang-woo. Sang-woo's just stood there with a knife covered in blood, and he was like, you were the majority. She was gonna convince you to quit the game. And he was like, nope, I wanted to do it, and she turned it down. And he was like, oh. And now there it is, the final 2. They go to fight each other, but they're not allowed. They get knocked out before the last game. The last game is the game called Squid Game, which I don't know how to explain Squid Game. You need to watch it for the explanation. Let me see if there's an... Yeah, the 6th and final game is Squid Game, which Ji-hun and Sang-woo are shown playing as kids at the start of the show. So at the start of the show, it explains it, but there's basically like a squid sort of shape, and you've got to hop on your feet around the edge of the shape, and then run across the middle, and then you're allowed in, and you got to get past someone to touch the squid's head. Don't worry about the schematics of the game. It's all about the drama, okay? Ji-hun eventually wins. He doesn't kill his best friend, but then his best friend takes the knife out of the ground and ends up stabbing himself in his neck and killing himself, so that Ji-hun wins. What a fucking show. And the cherry on the top is we learn that the old man, player number 1, didn't die in the alleyway game. It turns out that Ilnam, the old guy, player number 1, was wealthy, and he got rich off lending people money. When he and his partners got bored of their wealth, they created the game to have some fun. However, Ilman then developed a tumor, and his tumor and illness is real, and after watching the game as a spectator for all those years, he decided to join as a player to feel something real before he died. And Ji-hun's out in the street after it's all happened, and he gets a letter with a card going to the address. He goes to the address, and he sees the old man there. And as right you would, he goes mad at the old man. He's like, why did you do this? Why did you create the game? That's when he explains, like, he used to make money off lending. He made a lot of money from lending money to people. And him and his friends got bored, so they made a game for a bit of fun, but then it was no longer fun for him. It was like, it's more fun to take part than it is to watch. There's also a policeman who you seen who's at the start, who's looking for his brother. His brother was also given one of these cards. He then sneaks his way onto the island somehow to try and find out what happened to his brother, only to find out that his brother is now the front man that's like sort of kind of running this whole shit behind the host, who's the old man. Oh, I've spoke a lot. Go and watch Squid Game. I wanted to talk about Netflix releasing their numbers for like the most watched show. In short, I don't know if it was all time or just for the past year or so, Bridgerton is the number 1 watched show it's number 1 watched show by most people. Not how much time people spent watching it, how many people watched it. Bridgerton is the number 1 show. This show, Squid Game, came out 2 weeks ago maybe, and it's already on track to become the #1 most watched show on Netflix. Already. Just take that in. Bridgerton came out months ago. I don't know how to end this. Go and watch Squid Game. Before you do it, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram, MylesHighClubENT. Spotify. Again, if you're watching this video on YouTube, you're like, I wish I could just listen to it. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Deezer, Stitcher. Anywhere you can listen to a podcast, you can find this podcast. Or if you want to see my beautiful black face, I'm over here on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. Oh, and comment as well. All the engagement things to help me beat the algorithms and get this podcast pushed out there even more. Until the next time, I've been your host, Miles. This has been the Miles High Club Podcast. You've been listening. See you soon. Peace. And go and fucking watch Squid Game. Shit.